from the river to the sea. A lot of young people on college campuses use that same language. I want to give you an opportunity to explain what that means when people say that.
I mean, for me and many folks and many of my residents, this was a call for liberation. I remember it because it rhymed, right?
Yes, from the river to the sea, Palestine will soon be free. The Democrat Party is now setting the standard for radical Islamic jihadis worldwide. The Democrats taking the anti-Semitic violent firebombing lead. You know how they are. Long list of Democrat Party terror attacks. Not all against the Jewish people, but a great many of these Democrat Party violent terrorist attacks against the police. And I don't know if you've seen the video. You seen the video of Mohammed? I call him Mohammed. Mohammed Sabri Soliman, 45 years old, an illegal alien criminal, genocidal anti-Semite firebombing pro-Israel marchers who were actually peaceful. Wasn't mostly peaceful. It was entirely peaceful until a Democrat showed up. Now, the Democrat is Mohammed Sabri Soliman, an illegal alien from Egypt, but the Democrat Party leading the way, opening our floodgates, and Joe Biden waving everybody into the country. Oh, jihadis, welcome. Come in. We're the Democrats. We're the left. We hate the Jews, too. We would destroy Israel from the river to the sea, too. A long list of Democrat Party terror attacks. But yesterday in Boulder, Colorado, you got this shirtless Egyptian illegal alien firebombing people because as a makeshift flamethrower, as it's being described by law enforcement. And then the Molotov cocktails. The Democrats really love Molotov cocktails. I liked them better when they just like to have a Manhattan and a sidecar. But now their primary cocktail is the Molotov cocktail. It's a firebomb, and they attack people for being Jewish, and they firebomb them like the Holocaust because, you know, the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler and today's Democrat Party with their Socialist Workers' Party, they're what does Bernie Sanders call himself? A democratic socialist. Then he spits food from between his teeth about democratic, and I don't believe him. But it's another remarkable moment in American political history thanks to the Democrat Party. We've seen anti-Semitic attacks increase, about 900%, 893% over the last decade. And they love to say like white supremacists. So I guess the Democrat Party, they're the white supremacists that they've been warning us about because look at them, look at their behavior. Quite amazing stuff. The headlines are like this out of Boulder, Colorado, not a border city, it's not New York, it's not Los Angeles, it's not Hamtramck, where you've got huge populations of Muslims from the Middle East and from other beepholes around the world. But here's a headline breaking yesterday. Radical left-wing extremists at Media. Multiple people set on fire in targeted terror attack on pro-Israel group in Colorado. Who knew they had pro-Israel people in Colorado? And then the Democrat showed up, Mohammed the firebomber, who was an illegal alien in the country illegally as an alien, thanks to Joe Biden and the Democrats. They love more crime and more terrorism. More Democrats equals more crime. More Democrats equals more terrorism. More Democrats equals more anti-Semitism. The Democrat Party ought to be banished, not just from the United States, but from the earth. Oh, we could let them go to Sudan or something like that. But so also, Fox News, FBI investigating targeted terror attack near Boulder's, I love this, Pearl Street Mall. The world-famous Pearl Street Mall. Why is that on the headline in a national publication? The Pearl Street Mall? Oh, I remember it well. I'm so fond of the Pearl Street Mall. Suspect in Boulder terror attack. Determined to be Egyptian man in U.S. illegally. Illegally, that's a headline, but not from ABC Fake News or anything like that. 8 injured after man sets people on fire at Colorado rally for Israeli hostages. The BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, they've got that. Pretty amazing stuff. And then I was reminded, of course, of all the other terror attacks of the Democrat Party. the James Hodgkinson, a Bernie Sanders campaign volunteer, shooting and nearly killing Congressman Steve Scalise, trying to kill a whole baseball team of Republican members of Congress. Remember that? And you remember the Democrat Thomas Crooks shooting Donald Trump through the ear in Butler, Pennsylvania during a Trump rally, because that was another suicide attack and James Hodgkinson was a suicide attack on Steve Scalise and the Republican members of Congress. And then Thomas Crooks in Butler, Pennsylvania, suicide attack trying to kill Donald Trump, shot him through the ear, just barely missed the assassination. Amazing stuff. And they hate the Jews. Remember the Democrat Aaron Bushnell, he self-immolated and killed himself in front of the Israeli embassy about a mile from where I sit right now in Washington, D.C. Could walk over there in 12 minutes, I think. And Aaron Bushnell self-immolated in February of last year, 2024. Pretty amazing stuff. Another Democrat woman self-immolated at the Israeli consulate in Atlanta, Georgia, in December of 2023, so about 2 months before Aaron Bushnell. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. And then just in April, just a matter of weeks ago now, the Democrats firebombed. They had their guy Cody Balmer firebombed the home of the governor in Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, because he's Jewish. Here's the thing. I mean, everything it's just amazing, the anti-Semitism, and it's all the Democrat Party. Forget about all that FBI warnings. Oh, white supremacist. I want to get in touch with my white rage. Yeah, stay home and dress like a lady and get in touch with your white rage. That was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Ridiculous mockery of masculinity. Amazing stuff. But the Democrat Cody Balmer firebombed. Yeah, that was not a suicide attack. They took him alive. And then the news media just dropped it like it's not a story at all. It's not like January 6th or anything like that, where Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed for allegedly trespassing. No big deal. Amazing stuff. And then, of course, just on May 21st, not so long ago at all, 2 Israeli embassy staff were gunned down and murdered in Washington, D.C. by a Democrat at a Jewish museum where there was a gathering of people who were, hey, let's bring peace to Gaza and supplies to Gaza. And they had Muslims and Christians and Jews. And then a Democrat showed up and murdered 2 Israeli embassy staffers, a young man and a young woman, who were to be engaged a week later before they were murdered by a Democrat who was taught to hate the Jews by the Democratic Party. Make no mistake about it. And now, yesterday, we have Boulder, Colorado, 8 people set on fire by Mohammed from Egypt, the illegal alien, thanks to the Democrats. And now I think I see a pattern emerging. And I think that the pattern involves the Democratic Party 100% of the time. Just 100%, that's all. And now we've got from Washington, D.C. and New York to Boulder, Colorado, police stepping up patrols around Jewish targets, as they're called now, not just Jewish sites like synagogues and things like that, museums where Democrats are murdering people for being Jewish. And then, of course, I'm reminded of the Democrats murdering CEOs and loving that, too. A health insurance company CEO, Brian Thompson, gunned down on the sidewalk of New York by a Democrat who was weaned by the Democrats to be contemptuous of success in a capitalistic sense, to be offended by CEOs because they're just, it's a mental kind of situation with the Democrat Party. You got to be hostile towards CEOs because they're successful. Any successful person you have to be hostile toward. And, of course, if you're involved in the healthcare industry, like Barack Obama and Obamacare and everything the Democrats did to make healthcare better, didn't they make everything better? Now it's perfect because the Democrats fixed it. Except now they have to fix it again, and it's going to be worse this time around. Aren't they amazing? But in D.C. now, where they announced this morning increased patrols around targets where Jewish people might be found, and Democrats might be looking for suicide attacks. I've got to say, and the NYPD also, where we have the greatest number of hate crimes in the country, New York City, because all those Democrats are gathered there, and most of them are against Jews. not against black or white or Latinx or whatever. It's against Jews because the Democrat Party has really switched on the hate machine, and they're pretty good at that, aren't they? Hate, they're good at. They're not good at a lot of things, but hate, that's something they major in. They should have a major in Ivy League campuses in hate because it seems like, and honestly, we've got the guy, Mohammed, in Colorado. He's chanting Free Palestine, yelling Free Palestine while he's gassing and setting on fire Jewish people and supporters of Israel who would like to see hostages released. But the Democrat Party is pro-Hamas hostage, and they drape themselves in what they call Palestinian flags, and they chant the chants of Hamas, which is a genocidal death cult of a terrorist group, a radical Islamic jihadi terrorist death cult. And the Democrat Party, they're in the sleeping bag with them, and they're all lubed up because the Democrat Party is pretty unwell, pretty sick, I've got to say. Speaking of the media, there was also kind of a fun story over the weekend that the news media just can't figure out to save their lives. And fentanyl seizures on our southern border statistically dropping like a rock, fentanyl seizures. And the news media, the Washington Post, did a story over the weekend that made my best girl and I laugh out loud when we were looking at it. They make up reasons why the fentanyl seizures are dropping. None of it is a credit to President Trump controlling our southern border or threatening the Mexican drug cartels with force. No, it's a mystery. They make stuff up. They just make it up like little children playing dress up and make believe. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, fentanyl seizure is dropping in the United States, and we'd like to think fatal drug overdose is dropping in the United States too, since we're losing more people every year in a single year to fatal drug overdoses than we lost in the entire Vietnam War and the Korean War combined. And the news media doesn't see a story there. They're not interested in that. That's not a good one. Just amazing people, these people. Can I call them people? Is it all right if I call them people? Extraordinary stuff. And speaking of Democrats, assaults on NYPD officers, that's the New York Police Department in New York City, surge 63% over 6 years. Gee, I wonder what the timeline is there. Oh, wait, it's Joe Biden and the Democrats. And they also, New York City subway assaults are up almost 20%. They're up 19%. And police officers are the most commonly targeted on the New York City subways because of Democrats, because the Democrat Party. If you're a member of the Democrat Party, you should think about life in prison because I think everybody's headed that way, the Democrat Party. Aren't they amazing? Oh, there was a fun moment. Senator Joni Ernst got the Democrats going because she was at a town hall and radical extremist lefties were in there screaming and yelling and being mentally ill and yelling about how Donald Trump's going to take away our health care, which he's not going to do, of course. And Senator Joni Ernst, this is a pretty funny moment, I've got to say. She's from Iowa. She's a United States Senator. She's a Republican. And she really upset them with the crazy people yelling in the crowd. And she said, "We all are going to die." And they're like, "Oh, my God, we're all going to die." And they went running out of the place, tearing their hair out. "Oh, we're all going to die." She said, "We're all going to die." And it's like, maybe, and later on she followed it up and made them go crazy again because she posted a video that she made in a cemetery. And she suggested, eternal life. Maybe you should see Jesus Christ and find faith and religion. And now they're even more angry with her. They might have to firebomb a Jewish governor's house or something. But wait till you hear this. I've got the audio for you because it's pretty funny. And she said, "Oh, yeah, I'd like to apologize for pointing out the obvious that we're all going to die. But if you're too stupid to be aware of that, then, keep voting Democrat." And they're building rail spurs and shower rooms, the Democrats are. Yeah, Joni Ernst said we're all going to die. Also, Elon Musk wants to go in and save the Democrat city of Memphis, which is choking to death in its own vomit. And Elon Musk said, "Hey, I'll come in, I'll spend billions and billions in your city and give you jobs beyond your wildest imagination. And now the Democrats are protesting against him and threatening violence because they don't want prosperity. They want to whine and complain and die miserable, choking on their own vomit, like Hillary Clinton every Wednesday. Isn't that amazing? We've got all kinds of stuff going on in Ukraine, too. Ukraine going deep into Russia and blowing a lot of stuff up. Zelensky allegedly interested in talking peace. Hey, why didn't we think of that? Great stuff. And Joe Biden, updates on Joe Biden as well. We are at 888-630-9625.
As Barack says, a three-letter word, jobs. J-O-B-S, jobs.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. The Democrat Party. All right, let's go to the telephones, Michael, and talk to the nice American people. Democrats in the media are making excuses for terrorists and killers. What do you hear, CNN? And I'll remind you of an ABC story, too. They're not on the side of civilization. Let's go to Rob, calling from Montgomery County, Maryland. Rob, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Again, sir.
Hey, Rob.
I had three quick things for you, okay? You were commenting earlier, and all this anti-Americanism, I think we can point our fingers to a few things. Remember when Barack Obama said that if he could sit in a basement, I don't know where the basement would be, and kind of run the country kind of in secret, through his minions, he thought that'd be a great thing. And the other thing was, the fundamental transformation of our country seems like, all these things have a lot in common, don't they?
Yes. Yes, they do. I think that really the poison pill, the biggest of all time, was Barack Obama. And he turned the Democrat Party. Barack was mentored by a literal member of the Communist Party as a young man. He made a literal Communist Party voter, John Brennan, the CIA director. John Brennan participated in the felonious 51 corrupting our presidential election in 2020 with their letter about Hunter Biden's laptop. The left is here, man, Rob. These people aren't liberals. They're the left. And I point the finger at Barack Obama all the time. And you're right. The fundamental transformation of America. To teach your kids to speak Spanish because, the fundamental transformation of America. And they're waving in jihadis from Egypt who are going to firebomb Jewish events, calling for hostages to be released. It's all on the Democrats. 100% of this, from the open borders on.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
Yes. Yeah, the Democrats, they love to throw up defenses for radical Islamic jihadi terrorist killers and firebombers, for suicide attackers, for CEO killers. They want their daughters to date Luigi Mangione because he murdered a CEO, not in spite of the fact that he murdered a CEO, but because of the fact that he murdered a CEO. And They love the death. They love the crime, and they love the criminal. It's all they love. They don't love anything good. Again, James Hodgkinson, Bernie Sanders' campaign volunteer, shot Congressman Steve Scalise, nearly killed him, was planning a mass political assassination. Turned out to be a suicide attack. Steve Scalise barely survived that attack. He was shot with a Chinese combat assault rifle that the Democrat Bernie Sanders volunteer brought with him to the baseball field to commit mass political assassination. Donald Trump was shot, of course, a second assassin. Well, that was Thomas Crooks in Butler, Pennsylvania. A second would-be assassin was arrested in Florida. A third would-be assassin was arrested. Where was he? In Idaho, I believe. The Democrats Chuck Schumer, and he's Jewish, and the other Democrats stoked the flames of hatred against members of the Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh in particular. A Democrat was arrested outside Brett Kavanaugh's home with a gun and additional magazines of ammunition and burglary tools and kidnapping tools because he came here to Washington, D.C. And again, Brett Kavanaugh is also not far from this radio station. And he was inspired by the likes of Chuck Schumer to get Brett Kavanaugh. He likes beer. He's the most normal person you're going to find anywhere. And the Democrats, they stoke the flames, they fuel the flames, they fan the flames of hatred and rage, and they get their crazy people going. You know, the Southern Poverty Law Center is involved in the shooting of Steve Scalise, demonizing him. Rachel Maddow on MSDNC, demonizing Steve Scalise, and inspiration for James Hodgkinson. He said so in his social media. He was all hung up on Rachel Maddow, who I don't think wanted to date him anyway. And remarkable stuff, these people. And, you know, you had Aaron Bushnell, who was an active duty Air Force enlisted man, self-immolate at the Israeli embassy a mile from this radio station in February of last year, February of 2024. And in December of 2023, a woman self-immolated at the they're all Democrats, self-immolated at the Israeli consulate in Atlanta, Georgia. And the news media didn't even cover. We don't even know if she's dead because the news media just treated it like it was a fender bender on the Beltway or something. It was nothing at all. And, of course, the Democrats firebombed the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania because the governor there is Jewish. Josh Shapiro, the Democrat governor, was firebombed by Cody Balmer while his family slept inside during Passover. They had just finished their Seder dinner and all that. But amazing stuff. And then the Democrat showed up in Washington, D.C., May 21st, just weeks ago now, and murdered two Israeli embassy staffers here in Washington, D.C., murdered them because they were at a Jewish event. And now we have yesterday, June 1st, Boulder, Colorado, 8 people marching literally peacefully and calling for the release of hostages by Hamas. And a guy named Mohammed showed up and decided to firebomb people, set people on fire. At least one person in their 80s that he set on fire with his makeshift flamethrower because, and look, and the Democrat Party, they've been stoking this for months, certainly since October 7th. Let's go to some audio. Since we're on the radio and everything, let's go to soundbite number 1, or numero uno, as the Democrat Latinx or Latinx like to say. So here is the terrorist named Mohammed. So commonly the case, isn't it? I've got to say the Democrats have committed more terror attacks than the guys named Mohammed in the United States over the last several years. But isn't this amazing? We've got the terrorist Mohammed Sabri Soliman, and he lives in El Paso, Texas, illegally. But he went to Colorado and attacked people for being pro-Israel and decided he'd set them on fire and use a flamethrower and Molotov cocktails. Molotov cocktails the Democrats love so much. Now, I've got to say, I started this earlier, but I never finished my thought. The police, one police officer showed up. And I don't know if you watched this video, but this guy is cool as a cucumber, man. I mean, he is, how cool is a cucumber? About as cool as this guy. This guy is unbelievably calm, cool, and collected, the police officer. And he looks like he's Boulder, Colorado. He's in full uniform, dark blue, body armor, no helmet or anything. But he has his pistol, looks like a Glock pistol, in his right hand, not with both hands on the gun coming at him, not yelling, but this cop walks up, sweet as you please, like he's there to pick up his lunch order, and has his pistol extended, his right hand only, with his left hand free. And he's walking up to the guy like there's nothing going on. And the terrorist, crazy Mohammed guy from Egypt, the illegal alien that the Democrats invited into the country illegally to perpetrate acts of jihad, as is perfectly predictable, without vetting 10 million people and more. But the police officer walked right up and a pistol on the guy, and it was clear he would have shot him. I think you could just tell by his cool demeanor. It's like, okay, if that's the way you want to play it, bang, bang, bang. But Mohammed dropped to the ground, and the calm, cool, collected police officer just got a knee on him. The Democrats will put him in prison for that and then stab him 22 times like their St. George Floyd. But the police officer gets a knee on him and then cuffs him, a pistol in one hand. So calm, cool, collected. I marveled. I rewound it and showed it to my best girl this morning. I'm like, look how cool this guy is, the cop. But here's the audio of the incident yesterday in Boulder, Colorado. People marching peacefully, pro-Israel, calling for the release of hostages being held by the Democrat Party's favorite radical Islamic jihadi terror group of the week. That's Hamas. They also love, the Ayatollahs in Tehran. They love Hezbollah. They love the Houthis. It's just America they don't like. And humanity, too. They're the left, most murderous bunch of people in the history of the world. But here is the incident where Mohammed in Boulder, Colorado, was, and he's screaming, "End Zionism and free Gaza." Here is Mohammed.
We can't do nothing about that. We can't do nothing.
We can.
Not here.
End Zionist.
Not here, bro.
He's on taking video right now.
End Zionism is yelling. That means end Israel.
Well, we can't do it when he's got Molotov cocktails on.
If you are fighting,
can't do anything. He's got Molotov cocktails. Bystanders are saying can't do anything. He's got Molotov cocktails on him. I'm not sure if that's, but it's an unusual set of circumstances for anybody on any given day. And then the police officer arrives and just walks up on the guy with his pistol in his right hand, his left hand free. And he's not hunched over. He's not yelling. He's not moving furtively. He's hardly even moving deliberately. He's, with deliberateness. He's just walking right at the guy with his pistol in his hand and tells him, I think, calmly, get on the ground. And the guy got on the ground, and if he had not gotten on the ground, I'm convinced he would have been shot 8 times, and that would have been fun, too. The police officer arresting Mohammed.
Just stay away. Just stay away. He's right there. He's throwing Molotov cocktails right there.
And there's only one police officer.
Everybody get back. Everybody get back. Everybody get back.
Yeah, get on the ground. Get on the ground. Police officer. It is just calm, cool, and collected. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. And 8 people taken to the hospital with burns because Mohammed, who is the new hero of the Democrat Party, like Luigi Mangione and like the rest of them who are heroes of the Democrat Party, Thomas Crooks, who shot Donald Trump through the ear, and Aaron Bushnell, who self-immolated at the Israeli embassy, and it goes on. And they got their guy, Cody Balmer, that firebombed the Jewish governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. If you're Jewish and you're a Democrat, you need a brain scan, see if there is any activity there, electrical or otherwise, because you guys, I'm telling you. And then, of course, the Democrat was taken into custody in Washington on May 21st when he murdered execution-style 2 Israeli embassy personnel. I think I see a pattern emerging here. And it's not a bunch of Charlottes. Is that what was Charlottesville? White supremacists. It's all Democrat Party stuff. And I just, I got to tell you, there was a woman who was there who witnessed the Mohammed attack on peaceful pro-Israel protesters.
There's a woman who was on the ground bleeding out. Oh my gosh, sorry. And then there are 2 other women whose calves were burned from the fire. And so I just ran over to stay with them and make sure that they didn't lose too much blood from their legs.
These are the good guys. These are the the police officer walked up. The Democrats say, "Oh, we want to defund him," and like the police officer that Derek Chauvin that arrested George Floyd. They sent him to prison forever, and in prison he was stabbed 22 times by a Democrat. There's no doubt about that. There was a man there, and you hear the nice lady that she's on the side of civilization. She saw a woman injured, 2 women injured, set on fire by Mohammed, the visiting Democrat. Is he a visiting Democrat? I think he's a visiting Democrat. Illegal alien visiting Democrats are with the illegal aliens and with the jihadis and not with the Jewish people and not with civilization. But this nice lady went over, and a woman bleeding out, and their calves and burned. And I stayed with them, want to make sure they didn't lose too much blood. She sounded calm and smart and wonderful. She's an American. She is not a Democrat. I'll go ahead and bet $1 on that. There was a man who was there witnessing also hey, there's a lady on fire.
There was a woman that was burning on the ground. And then we noticed 2 other people that had also been affected by the burns on their legs. And this man was shirtless and was yelling with some kind of accent and was threatening to burn people.
Threatening to burn people. Why is that a problem? Well, you know, the Democratic Party, they've done this to the United States of America. This was not something we ever would have seen before. Now there's this fight going on between idiots, idiot Democrats, and sane people who are calling this a terrorist attack. And a lot of Democrats say, well, you can't call it just because he's Mohammed, who's yelling free, free Palestine, and what was he yelling? End Zionism, which means end the state of Israel. So he's a genocidal anti-Semite, and then he firebombs people who are presumably Jewish and marching for Israel. And while he's yelling these chants of the jihad, but never mind that. Denver FBI special agent, it's Mark Michalek, I guess is his name.
Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd.
Incendiary.
The suspect was heard to yell, "Free Palestine," during the attack. As a result of these preliminary facts, it is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism.
See, that got him really upset at CNN FBI, Denver FBI Special Agent Mark, I'll go with Michalek.
Sadly, attacks like this are becoming too common across the country. This is an example of how perpetrators of violence continue to threaten communities across our nation.
Now, you may remember that when the guy that murdered the 2 Israeli embassy personnel was being arrested a couple of weeks ago in Washington, D.C., he was yelling the same thing that Mohammed was yelling in Boulder.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
And Hamas, they love Hamas, a genocidal terror group. And at Columbia University, interestingly, Ivy League students, brainwashed, indoctrinated, death cult, yelling the same thing.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine!
Palestine is free. They had elections. They're free to wage war against their next-door neighbor, which represents civilization. Air Force, he was an airman at the time, Aaron Bushnell, at the Israeli embassy, setting himself on fire.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
He's literally on fire there. It's not easy to yell when you're burning the cilia off of the interior of your lungs. Isn't that amazing? And the pro-Hamas people, even in Sweden, they're yelling the same thing. It's almost as if there's a global war going on in the name of jihad, and the Democrat Party in the United States has joined the jihad. Didn't see that coming, huh? Kind of interesting. Why don't you hear what they said on CNN? They're jumping in. Oh, you're just racist for calling it terrorism. Just because his name is Mohammed and he's firebombing Jewish people while yelling free Palestine and end Zionism. On CNN, if you get your news from CNN, wait till you hear what they're saying. On this is CNN. CNN. Their middle name used to be News. They had a woman on by the name of Juliette Kayyem, like Omar Khayyam. And Juliette Kayyem was brought on to say, well, wait a minute, just because the FBI is calling it terrorism in Boulder, Colorado, just because the state attorney general is calling it terrorism in Boulder, Colorado, I think the mayor called it terrorism in Boulder, Colorado. But the police chief is being very cautious in the use of language. But here's Juliette Kayyem. This is where you get your news from CNN. This is what you get.
The FBI director and deputy director got way ahead of where the local police were. The language that the FBI used in their tweets included words like violence, targeted terrorism, and violent. They got ahead of where the local police knew where the investigation was.
Set 8 people on fire.
It's not good for the community. It's not good for the potentially targeted community. It makes law enforcement look disorganized, and it makes the FBI look so juvenile. Like, why are you getting ahead of the police chief?
She was Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security during the Biden administration, of course, because these people, can I just say, excuse me, pardon me, that's during the Obama administration, naturally. She's a Democrat Party activist, and I'll bet $1 she went to Harvard. Hey, she went to Harvard. You just can't go around calling it terrorism. They use the word violent and violence. Well, Mohammed set 8 people on fire at a pro-Israel march. But at CNN, you don't want to get ahead of matters here. You don't want to jump out in front and call it terrorism. And, just because they're setting Jews on fire while yelling free, free Palestine and end Zionism doesn't mean you should use. And she objects not just to the word terrorism, but to the word violence or violent. This is our news media and the Biden administration and Democrats and Harvard. There is something terribly wrong with Harvard. There really is. That got me looking around. You may remember a guy named Cody Balmer. Then again, you may not. He firebombed the Jewish governor's mansion in Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro's mansion. And ABC News, writing about it, said, the man accused of firebombing Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's house over the weekend had struggled in recent years with problems in his home life. Right. And issues concerning from covering his mortgage.